Excellent. Thank you for that, Holly. And I am driving, but so is Tynia Cooper, who's going to introduce herself as well too. So thank you again, Holly, for just the opportunity to engage with you all, scholars, on a topic that you probably hear a lot about, but it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. I think it's really critical and important, particularly for you all. As scholars, you're in school, you're kind of thinking about, what you're going to do next. So when we thought about what we want to present to you, we wanted to talk about, your personal brand and really becoming that, I guess we call the CEO of the brand called you. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and just really how that plays into literally, everything, that you do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you all. A presentation will kind of walk through. So can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so let me, this new technology, this way. Awesome. So, okay, like I said, we'll introduce ourselves. I'll let my colleague, Tynia Cooper, first introduce herself. So we'll go back and forth and talk about this with you all. We want this to be a dialogue, not a monologue. So there's some aspects of this presentation where we'll look to you to kind of jump in a little bit so you can get the full effect of this. But before I jump and introduce myself, I'll let my colleague Tynia Cooper introduce herself.
Awesome. Thanks, Hansford. And like Hansford said, it's a pleasure to being here today. I always enjoy talking to scholars and talking to students about their personal brand and about myself as well. So to start off, my name is Tynia Cooper. I went to Eastern Connecticut State University for my undergrad in social work. I know some people's probably saying, did you go to school for social work here in corporate? Interesting story, too long to explain. But after graduating with my bachelor's in social work, I went to Cigna shortly after graduating. My role at Cigna was basically, I was in charge of managing the relationship between their TLDP and different partnering diverse colleges and universities. So I managed the recruitment and the talent pipeline with North Carolina A&T and Howard University, which are both two historically Black colleges and universities. I also manage some other administrative work and other diversity events for their technology leadership development program. I was at Cigna for just about almost 2 years before transitioning and starting at Travelers. I started at Travelers December of 2019, and I'm a part of their human resource leadership development program, which is a 3-year rotational program for early career HR professionals. So within my 3 years in this program, I will have 4 rotations within talent acquisition, where I'm currently in right now. I will go to compensation, employer relations, and then my 4th rotation will be of my choice. So either an HRG rotation or within D&I or the analytics track. I graduated this past summer with my master's in human resources from the Lenova. I did my master's 100% online. So some people ask, have you ever been to the campus? Never been to the campus before, but it's a great program and a really good school. I also, fun fact, I graduated from the 2nd oldest high school in the nation, which is Hartford Public High School. And the name is like the Owls, that's our mascot. So I'm excited to be here today and talking about, personal branding, something that I have learned to definitely take seriously over the course of my early career and throughout college as well. So I will pass it back to Hansford to introduce himself.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Tynia. So just a little bit about me, Hansford Johnson, obviously. So undergrad, I went to Middle Tennessee State University, played football there, got a degree in finance, but really didn't want to go into the finance world. I wanted to do something, not that that's not something to make a difference, but I just really wanted to do something to make a difference, in the lives of young people, in our community per se. So I went into teaching. I didn't see very many teachers who looked like me. And it was an opportunity to really impact young people. So I used my platform in sports to kind of coach and teach. But after a while, I thought, man, I want to help reform education, and doing it in high school, just that's not it. So I got my MBA, and then I went to University of South Florida, where I led all the first generation programs, underrepresented population, graduation and retention was my emphasis and focus. Then I left and got recruited, I should say, to Wake Forest University, where I met, Ron Brown scholars. We had several of them come through our program. there at Wake Forest. It's 1 year master's program, but I was there for 5 years and ran all their admissions, student affairs, career services, and their diversity programs. And we'll get to this as well too, because if you do things the right way and make sure your brand is of such, you'll be in a position where really, not that you won't have to look for a job, but jobs will look for you. And I've been fortunate; it's been that way in my career. So after I was at Wake Forest, I got recruited to go to Yale School of Management, came all the way up to Connecticut, and I led their employer engagement strategies with all industries. So it was great. But after a while, I thought I want to go to corporate America, and that's where I went to Cigna, and that's kind of where myself and Tynia overlap. And there, I led a portion, of the university relations and all our diversity recruiting efforts. And then lastly, I got recruited, again, to come to Travelers, where it was interesting. We'll talk about this in a role that didn't exist, really around how do we partner with and engage with different communities, different demographics, to source, recruit, and engage, talent for the current and the future workplace. So love my job. I love my job so much that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it before we jumped in, into this presentation around your personal brand. A little bit just quickly about, Travelers, as, Holly was mentioning, a lot of opportunities. Again, I know the quality of students and scholars that are in this program. So again, insurance is not something people grow up, each day and wanting to kind of work in insurance, but just want to kind of put this out there to you guys. It's limitless in the regards of what you can do. So from a technology to HR to marketing to product to whatever, underwriting and actuary, you can do that at an organization. Many things you can do, other organizations can do at Travelers as well. It's stable with our industry, as it's been around for a very, very long time. Literally everything your eyes can see has to be insured. So that's, very important. And lastly, very generous, as you saw. I mean, again, we believe that you do need to, there's a corporate and social responsibility, I should say, that you have. So just real quick, these are all the different things that we insure. So we don't do personal like insurance per se, but with property and casualty. There's a lot that goes to that. So again, it's not people out there knocking on doors, asking people to, to be insured. But you think about some of the major buildings that you see, the big companies that you see, as well as the bridges, that you drive over, that's insured by us. And then lastly, again, career opportunities, and we'll share something with you all, after this that you'll have. But again, as you all know, this is peak recruiting season. So we have a lot of leadership development programs, and what we call field programs that we'll love to share with you all. And we'll do that, at the conclusion, of this presentation. We'll share it with Holly, as she did in the link, but we'll share some more stuff with you. So before we jump in, actually, let's go ahead and jump in, and we're talking about this idea around being the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, of the brand called you, right? Because again, the whole idea is around success. And I like to show this picture because I think most people think, on the left, depending, where you're looking, that success is this trajectory that kind of goes up, this linear trajectory. But what you realize is that it's not that way. Success looks more like what's on the right? Because what we read is statistics is that your generation is going to have anywhere from 26 to 30 different jobs by the time you retire. And a lot of it is not because, you don't have a particular skill, you just hopping from place to place, but it could be in the same company. But what I'm trying to say, success in of itself is not linear. It's more like a lattice, and it's up and down, where you have peaks and valleys. But again, the key thing in all this we're going to talk about is how you manage, your particular brands. And we're going to get into that, right? So just real quick, just kind of level set. I think we all understand, but just in case if we don't want to be remiss if I didn't do that, is that personal branding is just a process, really whereby, you or, in your career, is marketed, as a brand, right? Because that's kind of who you are. Who you take to your work, who you take to a presentation, who you take to an interview, that's your brand. And the underlying premise of this is around success. And success really comes from how well you kind of self-package, right? So what we're going to talk about, in here is around like your personal brand is like, what are you doing? What are the key components, that you should be focused on, right? It's not about somebody else. It's really about you, because when you interview or you're in front of somebody else, they're looking at you. They're not looking at anybody else. But I tend to find that people don't take the time to really think about, like, what is my personal brand? Like, what am I putting off per se? So we want to kind of talk about that. So we want to do something, and I'm going to let Tynia, take this. Hopefully, I think you're not muted, but this part of, our presentation, we'd love to kind of get some interaction. And the reason why we're doing this is because I think you guys know companies spend billions and billions of dollars, on branding, right? To kind of get to the idea of the consumer. What are they thinking? Because they know it's important, right? So again, we're gonna, show a couple things here, with you. Again, I'll let Tanaya take it from here. We'd love to get some of your thoughts. So Tanaya?
Awesome. Hansford, I believe you might have to click through the screen.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys can use the chat when I ask you guys, when you guys see these different companies, what do you guys think of? So for the first two in the chat box, if you guys can, maybe one or two words that comes to your mind when you think of the brand of these two companies. Social media. Exactly. I know for TikTok, I think of dancing. I think of 2000 Babies, entertainment, connection, addictive. Yes.
That's the truth.
Okay. Yeah. Like everyone's saying, these companies have done a really good job of marketing themselves and their brand. So look at Facebook, many of us think about family, connection, friends, videos, sharing photos. When we look at TikTok, we think of people continuously dancing or doing funny videos. So both companies have done a really, really good job. So you don't even have to know the company at all, but most people, when they see that brand, they see that logo, they automatically know these things about both of these companies.
What about that one?
What about this company? Just Do It. Yep. Exactly. Sports. Yeah. So this one always trips me up. Hansford, what is Nike known for? Because I used to think, you taught me what Nike is really known for.
So a lot of people think Nike they think it's a shoe company, but it's a fashion. I think you all know that. When you think about Nike, you think about nice shoes, but the way they position and package themselves is around fashion. They're known as a fashion company, not a shoe company.
Yeah, did not know that, but thanks to Hansford. But Nike has done a nice job. Someone mentioned the first one was Just Do It. They've done a really good job of branding that quote, Just Do It. So whenever someone sees that check mark, they're like, that's the first thing that comes to their mind, Just Do It. So another great company has done a really good job of branding itself. What about this company?
It's Starbucks.
Fisco Girls? What's that?
Somebody said Disco Girls?
Fisco.
Oh, okay.
Coffee.
I'll have to Google that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I know because I have an 11-year-old.
I don't know about that one. Yeah.
Is a photo editing platform. Oh, okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, what about that one? You all eat there. Maybe not anymore, but I'm sure you do. Yeah, but you see those golden arches, you know exactly what that is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm loving it.
All right.
Awesome. What about this company to the farthest left? Innovation, exactly. Innovative, exactly. Search, information.
Yeah.
There was another fun fact about Google, right?
Yeah, that Google has a parent company that's owned by a company called Alphabet. So, and you all know, like when we say Google, people know that's a company, but it's almost like a verb now. Like when, go Google it. You know what that means. We don't even say go research it. We say go Google it. But they've done a phenomenal job of branding themselves, and their search engine company is really what they are. But that's how powerful, their brand is, that you can just look at it and you kind of know.
Exactly.
How about that one? Sorry for you guys who have the Android.
Yeah, best phone, Steve Jobs, exactly. I would say Steve Jobs has done an amazing job for his brand. Even though he's not alive anymore, people still know his brand, even though, he has passed, due to his innovativeness with Apple. Expensive for no reason.
What about that one?
Amazon, my favorite.
Taking over every city.
Take all my money.
Exactly.
Shopping. So
Yeah.
there's a fun fact about Amazon. I don't know if you guys know this. So do you
Yeah.
notice how the arrow's pointing from A to Z? It's because
Ah,
Amazon provides everything from A to Z. That's why the arrow's pointing from A to Z.
now, I didn't know that tonight. Wow.
Yes.
Pride myself.
That's how Jeff Bezos created. That's why he wanted a platform that can get you everything as far as a bookstore from A
Yeah.
to Z. And that's why the arrow's pointing to A and Z only.
Amazing. And he's the richest person in the world too. So
Yes.
I guess that helped. What about this company? Walmart.
I
Right.
like Target.
Assembly. Yeah.
Stressful.
You got to know what you want before you go in there.
Yes.
You end up in a
Groceries, someone said.
What they say?
Target is better than Walmart. I don't disagree, Kennedy.
You can believe that if you want to. So, yeah, but what about this one in the far right, bottom right?
Mickey Mouse, exactly. Princesses, yeah. So the truth of all of this is regardless of if you're seeing a picture, you're seeing their slogan, we all know the brand of each of these companies. Each of these companies have done an amazing job in making sure that us as people and people in general knows what the company represents, what products they sell, regardless of ever even going into the store, ever downloading the app. We know the brand of each of these companies.
Right. And again, so spot on. And I hope you guys see kind of the connection here, because you can spit out right away, what these logos that we share with you, like just, what initial reaction to kind of give to you, right? So let's make a shift, towards more default brands. So let's talk about people.
Yeah, be nice. I know you may not like everyone that comes up, but when you see this guy, what do you guys think of as far as brand? Creative genius,
That is true.
president,
Ooh.
interesting, crazy,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeezy.
College dropout.
True. But smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kanye West. What about this person?
Ooh.
Slow down.
Homecoming.
Yeah.
Queen Bee, Texas, where Hansford's at, Texas. Beehive. Exactly.
Right.
There, exactly. Yep.
What about that person?
Truth hurts. Body positivity, confident. Exactly. Fun. Humble, flute. Inclusive.
Yeah.
All great things. Yep.
Yeah. What about her?
I think of the VMAs, unfortunately.
That's so many years ago, but it's so true.
I don't even know none of her songs. I just think of VMA. The red lipstick, School, Ruin,
Yeah.
Kanye,
Yeah.
country music.
Yeah. She goes in and out. She's fluid.
Yeah.
Highly successful.
Yes.
Some people don't like her, but again, what we're trying to say here, these folks have a particular brand, and they spend a lot of time thinking about that. That's how they make money.
So they make money. These people make money based off their brand.
What about that person? Bottom. Any comments on him?
Baby.
Yep. What about that guy?
Ooh, I think of football. Leader.
Yeah. Right. You think he knows his brand?
Trendsetter, brave.
Right. Yep. Sometimes people have a brand that they're willing to give everything up for. And he did that. Some people don't like him. Some people call him controversial, whatever it may be. But I think he understands the brand he's putting out there. And I think you can see even from this GQ picture, right? What he's depicting. What is he depicting here relative to like who he is? The Afro represents.
Somebody said Black Panther vibes.
Right. That's
exactly.
What about her? You know, call her what you want, but
Best ever icon, athletic.
that's right. If she was a man,
best athlete.
exactly. If she was a man, we'd be calling her the best athlete to ever live, as how she's dominated her sport.
Yep.
Right. What about this guy?
Oh God.
Stop it.
Bar.
Don't say it.
Funny barf.
Okay. But so I'm seeing the comments go up, up, and up. But remember, we're talking about personal brand here. So again, call it what you want, but do you think he's cognizant of his brand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right. Tonight. That's what he did before he became president. I mean, he was a marketing guy. That's what he does. Whether you like it or not, I don't think he really cares.
No.
And a lot of people don't like him, you know, but he understands his brand and he knows how to speak to the people who he wants to speak. He runs the presidency like a marketing guy.
Like a business. Yeah. And wealth, when we look at, you know, like Hansford said, you know, whether we like him or not, most people, when they look at him or think of him, they think of wealth, you know, owns various businesses and, you know, various, you know, commercial, like hospitality. So said, yeah, he definitely is cognizant of his brand.
Controversial, but cognizant of his brand. What about this guy? This is the last one, I believe.
I think of Martha's Vineyard.
Of all people, of all things. Yeah.
Yeah, because my old coworker seen him at Martha's Vineyard jogging one year.
Wow. And didn't approach him. But yeah, so.
Icon, yep.
Exactly. So very uniquely different people. But again, what we're trying to convey to you is the default brand that people have by default. You know, like you didn't have to say anything. We didn't have to say who they were. You guys knew who they were. And then you had certain comments associated with who they are, right? But these people, I think you know, they put a lot of time, you know, in their particular brand. And that brand is something that they monetize. Not to say that's kind of where we're going here, but we just wanted to paint a picture. So you see, there's a default brand that you have, you know, and there's some that you put off all the time. None of us, I think, you know, on this call are as popular as any one of them. But the reality is within your social circle and your community, there's a certain brand that you have. So any last things before I kind of move on tonight?
Yeah, I just would like to point out when you talked about Colin, you talked about his brand and how he was brave enough to stick up for his brand. I always say your brand depends on your core values, even your own mission. I know Hansford's going to touch upon that, you know, a little later, but definitely someone like Colin aligned his values as a man, as a person, as an individual, you know, with his brand and, you know, took that sacrifice to stand up what he believes in and his own based on core values.
Absolutely. And that's things you guys have to think about. So as we talk about that, again, default brand, the things that you should be thinking about, right, is how many of you, you know, again, just a rhetorical question, how many of you know what people say about you if you were not in the room, right? That is your default brand. You know, how many of you are aware of the stereotypes associated with you? That is your default brand. Whether you're Black, you're brown, you're white, you're whatever class that you're in, whatever university you go in, people will associate that with you, right? When you meet someone and introduce yourself, are you aware of the impression that, you know, they are left with? That is part of what is called your default brand, right? But what we want to talk about, you know, is how do you develop that brand, you know, so that you are the CEO of the brand called you, meaning that you're in charge of your brand. Somebody else is not doing that. You know, there's some default things that none of us can really change, and we should be proud of kind of who we are per se, but you should be cognizant of what those things are. So to what Tynia said, there's a couple elements we want to talk about the time that we have left that you should be thinking about as it relates to your personal brand, right? And the first thing, you know, we want to talk about is, you know, your message and your mission. And Tynia was so eloquently jumping into that, you know, with Colin Kaepernick. Like, your core values, what you believe, you know, should be your message, should be your mission. Like, you got to think about, like, what is it and why is it that you do what you do, right? You're never too young to, you know, to think about these kind of things because it kind of carries you where you are. You know, your message is kind of born out of a core principles, right? Values and goals that you actually set. I tell young people all the time, you got to really think about this. because this is like an anchor to who you are. If you know who you are, it makes it very easy for you to deal with everything else that's out there. And if you don't, you spend your whole life trying to figure out who you are, and you just become a follower. Even some of the people we consider to be trendsetters, they're copying other people per se. They just kind of get to it quicker than you do, right? Your message is not defined by what you have, don't have, or what you look like. Again, these are just aspirational things. When you're thinking about being the CEO of the brand called you, which is a company, which is you should think about this, right? Your message is purpose driven. I always find that if it's not connected to something that is tied to a purpose, then all it is just something that's gonna, at some point it's gonna end. So your message and your mission, I'll give you an example here, has to be something that is born out of your core principles, your values, and are set. It's a message that's defined, not so much by what you have and what you don't have, or really, what you look like. Your message is purpose driven. It has to be, right? Have you guys ever seen this? You can put your comments. When you see this, what do you think about? You know who started this school?
LeBron. Yep.
Right. That's right.
LeBron
Right.
comment section.
Exactly. So look at all the things that I just shared there. Yes, I'm a Laker fan. I got my Kobe, shirt on. I'm so proud. We got our championship. But I did this on purpose, right? School was created by LeBron James in Akron, Ohio, right? Born out of, really his core principles or a life lived experience where, he didn't have the opportunity, but because of others, he got to and through school. So he created this organization, through the LeBron James Family Foundation. This is their mission, right? To positively affect the lives of children and young adults through education and co-curricular educational initiatives. And you see the rest of it. So if you're the CEO of a brand called you, what's your mission? What's your message? It may sound weird because you're like, I'm a human being. I'm kind of just doing my own thing. No. You are an entity. You are a brand. So you got to really think about, what are some of those core things that you believe in, and begin to think about, write it out. So, it would be silly of me to kind of do a presentation like this if I myself didn't have, a personal mission of mine. And this is my mission. I created this a long time ago, and it helps ground me into what I believe. It's core to who I am. It's driven by a purpose, right? At the intersection of business and education, my company, that's me, right, strive to build bridges and create opportunities for individuals and communities to achieve excellence, right? That is utilizing their unique ability to make the world around them a better place. That's my mission. That drives me to what I do. So it's not about the job that I have. It's really not, right? Because if this is my message, this is my mission, that means the kind of roles that I take has a lot to do with this particular mission. It's not that I'm interviewing people, for a particular job, but I am. I'm looking for this and making sure that the opportunities that I gravitate to align with my message and my mission. So be thinking about that. That's the first step when you think about being the CEO of the brand called you. What is your message? What's your mission? Again, we shared with you 2 full slides of people and also logos, and every single one of those, you guys could kind of spit back, particularly the logos, like a catchy tune, or what is their mantra? Like just do it. Like, what does that mean? That's Nike. Like, just go out there and do it. Fashion, they break all the rules. That's kind of how they are. So what's your message, and what's your mission? Be thinking about that. The next component you think about when you talk about you're being the CEO of the brand called you is your feature benefit. And what that is, every company offers, a unique product or service that yields an identifiable and distinguishable benefit for their customer or client. Not that you're pushing out products as an individual or particular service. That's really kind of how you treat people and what you give people. Maybe it's not physical things, but what you give them, make them feel. You got to think about that. What is your feature benefit, right? When you see this logo, what do you think about?
Ooh, chicken sandwiches.
Exactly. Right? In these presentations, I get, closed on Sundays.
Yummy, yes, closed on Sundays.
There you go, right? They have and I put this up because it's controversial to people sometimes because they have a strong religious stance on things. Some people hate them. Some people love them. But do you think they really care? Nope, they don't. Why? Because they feel, when you read their mission, they feel like this is purpose driven, what they do. So in opposition of everybody else, they don't care, right? And they close on a Sunday. You know the most profitable day for restaurants, you know what it is? It's Sunday.
Yep.
And they close on Sunday. And Chick-fil-A is one of the most profitable, fast food restaurants in America because they feel like they need to close on Sunday because that is core to who they are, and that's a feature benefit, right? And the piece I was getting at with Chick-fil-A is, it's like every time I go to Chick-fil-A, I never see them mad. Like, when you go to like certain places and you have people, forgive me, some of you work at some of these places, and I did. I worked at Wendy's when I was young. People just like, it's almost like, say it again.
I worked at Chipotle.
There you go. But you meet folks and you're like, man, do you even like your job? Like, I'm walking up to you ordering food, you making me feel bad for buying food and leaving. But for Chick-fil-A, that's one of their key things around customer service.
Yes.
Right? Whether you like them or not, they're gonna smile. They're gonna, say something religious or whatnot. That's just who they are, right? So your feature benefit. So these are mine, as you can see, right? This is what's core to me. I share with you my mission, right? That's step one, thinking about your mission and your message. Number two, your feature benefit. And I share with you my mission, right? Here's my feature benefit. This is what I've thought about. These are the things that people don't necessarily have to, I don't have to wear a shirt that says service, integrity, and commitment. But those are the things that are core to me, that I want people to make sure that when they're in my presence, whether they leave or they're here, these are the things that I want them to get from me. So this kind of dictates my actions and really the outcomes of what I want, right? Service. It's not about me. If you put people again, I don't want to preach to you, but if you put people at the center of what you do, you'll be amazed, right? Integrity. The key word there is integer, meaning whole. Like, do what you do what you say, and say what you do. That's so important. And then commitment, right? I don't like to be just interested in things. Like what I've spent my time doing, I only have 160 hours in a week. I need to be committed to it. So I want that to be a trademark of my life. So what are your feature benefits? And that's a rhetorical question. Be thinking about that, right? What's my message? What's my mission? What's my feature benefit? Again, we're talking about becoming the CEO. That means you're the chief executive officer of the brand called you. You can put whatever your name is in there, right? I'm the CEO of Hansford Johnson, Inc. So I have to think about these kind of things, right? What's my product? What's my service? Whatever it may be. What's my message? What's my mission? What's my feature benefit, right? And then obviously as a CEO, you have to have board of directors. Who are those men? Who are those women? Who are those people that you can kind of go to help you to talk, right? When you're a CEO of a company, you have a board of directors. You're kind of accountable to them, right? Their job is to make sure the company runs successfully, carries out the mission of the company. So they, number one, they got to know what it is. So if you're going to have boards of directors or mentors, you got to have a purpose for why they exist in your life. And what is it they're helping you with? When individuals serve on a board, there's a specific function that they do, whether it's around governance, it's around, finance, whatever it may be, but each one of these individuals serve as, members of my board, right? They don't know this in the sense of like you're on Hansford's board, but these are the men and women that I call frequently. We talk about life. We talk about family, we talk about faith, we talk about finance, we talk about my future, but just like if it's a board meeting, I have to have an agenda. They're giving me my time, their time to help my business, which is me, to be prosperous. So I have to have objectives of what we kind of talk about. So my question to you is, who are your mentors? Who are your board of directors in this, I guess you'll say, mission to be that CEO of the brand called you? Tonight, are we gonna say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know I mentioned earlier about how I transitioned from being a social work major to corporate, but I always say my brand was a part of that transition and why I was afforded the opportunity to work at Cigna. I met their chief information officer just in passing, and it's interesting, when I first met him, I was not the nicest. I think I was having a bad day, and I don't recommend you do this. I recommend everyone to be nice to anyone you meet because you never know. And I didn't know he was a CIO of Cigna until he left his card with me and just left. At that point, I thought, well, I'm going to be fired. Like, I'm gone. However, there was something, when I look back on it, I always say it was something about my brand that he liked when we had that small interaction. And just from that small interaction, I ended up growing him. He ended up growing to be my sponsor and affording me the opportunity to actually work at Cigna. So my best advice, is these board of directors, Mark Boxer, he's a part of my board of directors. And, I say that to say, your brand is very important. So regardless of where you are, always be conscious of that, especially when you're working for an organization. I always say to, students that I talk to from my high school or like in programs like this, social media can be a great thing or it can be a bad thing. It can be a gift or a curse. Because what you post on social media is a part of your brand and people are going to see that. So you never want people to think of you based on, oh, that girl, she's always going crazy on social media and posting crazy things. Yes, your social media is your social media. However, you have to be cognizant of the fact that this is your personal brand and you never want to disappoint the people on your board of directors because you are a reflection of their brand as well. So it's a ripple effect as well.
Right. Excellent point. Excellent point. I hope you caught all of that. As Tynia said, it's so, so important, right? These people exist to kind of help you grow in your career and help you in your brand, but they're an extension of who you are, right? As members of your board, they're an extension of who you are. So, so much, we can talk about, with that. Let me just keep moving because of time. So, right, we talked about, those key components around your message, your mission, your future benefit. We talked about your board of directors. Now you got to talk about also too becoming this brand, the CEO of the brand called you. What are your goals and what are your objectives, right? Make sure they're smart goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're timely. Like you have to have particular goals and objectives. No company exists just to be there, right? Whether it's a for-profit, nonprofit, whatever it may be, there's a certain purpose of why they exist. What guides them are their goals. So that's the question I ask, a lot of people. What are your particular goals? What is it that you want to achieve? What is your objective? Try to stay realistic about it, because again, we like to think sometimes 5-10 years out. Look, I can't tell you 5-10 years from now. Things change. You can have a roadmap, but you should evaluate that on a regular basis. But again, this is your brand. I hope you guys see like the underpinnings of all this, that these things are very core and they're very important that you understand these things, right? So again, another key component, of that personal brand is making sure you understand like what are your goals and what are your objectives, right? Because your behaviors, things that you do are going to align. They should follow with what your goals are, what your objectives are. And if you don't have those defined, again, I think life is all about identity, trying to figure out exactly, what you do and why you do what you do and who you are. You should be really thinking about those kind of things, right?
I have a quick comment in the chat. It says by Miriam, have you ever seen the horror story about the girl got fired from NASA because she swore at one of her bosses on Twitter, not knowing that it was her boss? Example, what I mentioned, you just be careful the things you say on social media, it will follow you. And there's many organizations, they have specific teams within IT and that's their job is to media, that is their job. And they will find it. I know sometimes people say, oh, my profile is private. They don't care. Like there's ways to do everything. And that's why you always have to be aware of what you post because it will follow you regardless of you thinking it deleted or not, or you delete it, it will follow you forever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a great segue into that very important piece, like your visibility campaign. What impression do you want to leave people with? Not saying you have to be the square, and when you work for a company, you can't have a personal life. But if you are the CEO of the brand called you, you're not defined by the company you work for. You're defined by your purpose, your mission, and what it is that you feel like you're called to do. So you got to always ask yourself, should I be doing that? One of the most difficult things to do in life is to live a double life, right? Because when you do that, you have to lie to cover up another lie. Then you have to lie to cover up that lie. And you lie so much, you forget. I'm sure we all know people like that, right? Who do those kind of things. So again, that's why to me, again, integrity is so important. Look, what you see is what you get. I try to do that. Again, I'm not a perfect person at all, but the reality is I'm just impressing upon you these things that I think are pretty important from a personal branding perspective. So what impression do you want people to leave? Think about that. It's a question. How are you marketing yourself? Have you taken a step back and look at your social media? On whatever, Twitter, on whatever platform that you use, as you grow in your career, you guys, and you work for certain companies, you gotta be mindful of the kind of things you post, out there. Yes, we live in a country with the freedom of speech. You gotta be mindful, right? Because again, that might not be some speech that company likes, and we can say whatever we want, but it's just the reality, right? But it's okay sometimes that you feel like you want to speak and say things, just understand the consequence, of it. Everything you do and everything you choose not to do communicates the value and character of the brand called you. So think about that. It's not to kind of live in fear, but just understand communication is critical and important. So again, what you do and what you don't do is critical, right? What does your digital footprint say about you? From again, TikTok, social media, whatever it may be. These things are really important. I tell young people all the time, there's certain things you just cannot get back. So just be mindful about what you post, right? I don't understand why people post certain things. I mean, just what, to get likes? It's really not that serious. So just think about that stuff. Just know you're gonna grow up, even more one day and mature one day. So just be mindful of what you have out there. And if you think of yourself as a CEO of the brand called you, you would think twice or three times before you actually post some things, because it could take away from your company, right? If it was a company. So a couple things as we kind of land the plane, right? Just understand all these things we're talking about, it doesn't happen tomorrow, right? You got to understand, like, you're becoming, right? Focus on that. And becoming is the process of coming to be something or passing into a state. This is an ongoing and an iterative process around developing your personal brand. I'm 40, right? When I was 27, when I was at Wake, I was a different person, right? I can go on and on, my different career stops, but you have to have a roadmap, have an idea, have a plan, but understand that, you're becoming. So you're not everything you need to be kind of right now, right? And real quickly, we'll just talk about the 10 Ks of personal branding as we kind of just land the plane. A couple things. One, know yourself, focus on yourself. Like, who are you, right? What I mean by that, understanding your history, family, where you come from, those types of things, because that does define who you are, right? Know what you want to be known for, right? And that it's realistic, right? I have kids. I tell them all the time, I believe my kids are incredible, but I don't lie to them, tell them they can do anything they put their mind to do, because you can't. There's some things that you just cannot do, and that's okay. It's not anybody telling you no. You just have to understand your limitations. And if you can work within that, you will be great, right? Know how to be consistent. What does that mean? Right? It doesn't take talent to be consistent. I tell people all the time, you don't have to have a particular skill set. Just be consistent in what you do. You'll be amazed. In the workplace, the people who kind of rise to the top are those who are consistent. I'm being dead serious, because human beings are consistently inconsistent, I find. So try to be as consistent as you possibly can. That's so important. Know how to accept failure as part of the building your personal brand. That's just part of the process. Either it's a stepping stone, or it's going to be some kind of big boulder you can't get over. It's just a matter of how you look at it. Know how to communicate your personal brand attributes. If you focus on this, you write this stuff out quite a bit, you won't have to kind of hold some card in your back pocket, but you kind of know it's a second nature for you, right? I can, again, not about me, but you got to think about this. Know how to create your own opportunities, right? Nobody's going to care more about you than you. Let's be completely honest. It is what it is. Not your career coach. Ron Brown Scholar is a phenomenal program, and they create the car. You have to be the one in the car to kind of drive the vehicle. You can't expect them to do everything for you. So know how to create your own opportunities. All of you on this call have greatness inside of you. There's some great things you're going to do, but you have to know how to unlock that, right? Know about mastering the art of connection. So important. Human beings, I mean, the most valuable asset in the world. Think about that. How do you connect, right? And I could talk an hour on each one of these, but no, silence is not an option. That's very, very important. If you don't speak, somebody's going to speak for you, right? About your brand. So be mindful of that. Last two, know your expectations. Like, what are your expectations you set for yourself? And then what are some of the expectations others have of you? The people that you value. It's very, very important. The community to which you have a responsibility to. So not projecting this on you, but I feel as a Black man in America, I have a responsibility to the Black community. That is my thing. Doesn't mean that anybody else, anything else is not important to me. I was created this way. So I feel I have a responsibility. That's part of my expectations for myself, right? What are your expectations for you? And that's just one for me. And last one, know why you're doing what you're doing today and how it will shape what you will be doing tomorrow, right? You can do anything you want in life, to be honest with you. What you can't choose are the consequences for it. It's just what it is. And we see it every day. People make some stupid mistakes. Cardi B, I'm sure you guys follow this stuff. She did she do something silly every single week. But I was just reading something the other day, like, good night. Like, what are you doing? You can do silly things, but you cannot, choose the consequences of what you do. So again, your personal brand is important. It's not living your life in a way for other people. but understand you are who you are. You will live in your skin, period. Nobody else can do that. So understand what your brand is, how to build it, understand your message and your mission, right? Spend some time thinking about that. Think about your featured benefit, right? What is that? Like, what are the things you want to project off, right? Think about, also too, your goals and your objectives, right? Who are your board of directors? What's your visibility campaign, right? And think about all those 10Ks, of a personal brand that we just talked about. So again, I hope you can appreciate, we just kind of laid a blueprint and a format for it. There's no perfect way of doing it, but we really thought, those things that we shared with you were things that you should be thinking about, as you become the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the brand called you. So I think maybe in this forum, we can't necessarily take questions per se. Again, if you have some questions, you can put them into the chat box. We can spend the last few minutes kind of answering them, maybe 5 minutes or so. If not, you won't hurt my feelings, right? But if there's any questions for myself and Tynia, you can put them in there and we'll do our best to answer them. Any questions from anybody? No? Okay. All right, so we'll stop there then. But again, we appreciate and we value this particular program. We love the fact that we're partnering with you all. We hope we continue to interact with you. As Holly said, we'll send some information out. I have a lot of opportunities, as you know, many of you who are interviewing and things like that, we're hiring. So we'll send those opportunities out to you. And I hope if there's any questions that you all have, you want to ask us, Holly has our.
One question answered. They asked, will you be sharing any of these slides with us?
Yep, we can definitely do that if that's what you would like. We will definitely do that. We'll share that with you. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity. I commend you all for investing in your success and your career. So good luck to you. And I hope you make a difference. So again, Holly, thank you so much.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dave. You're welcome.